Welcome to Teshar's Thunder. As far as opening hand goes, yes, I love it. Wonderful opening hand. We've got the double planes in the hand. We have Mind Stone, a little bit of mana ramp. We have a good utility artifact in Terrarian. And then Terran from, it's Terran from MTGO Traders. And then, okay, I've been recording too long. That's too funny to me. We have Lightning Greaves, and we have another way to protect our board, and we have another way to blow up our opponent's board. So that'll be good. I don't know. I just started laughing about just thinking about Terran. And actually, shout out to Terran. Terran had it. If y'all didn't know, if you watch MTGO Traders' YouTube channel and my channel, Terran recently had a baby. Well, his wife had a baby. He didn't have a baby. Otherwise, he'd be in the headlines. But yeah, his wife had a baby. They had a baby. And it's a little baby girl. Let's go and get down, Terran. And then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn. But anyway, yes, congratulations to him. That's a really cool moment for him. And really excited about that. Anyway, let's go and cover our commanders. We're playing Teshar, Ancestor's Apostle. Flying. Whenever you cast an historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. A historic spell is going to be an artifact, legendary, or a saga spell. Playing against Hapatra, snakes on a plane. I'm so tired of these snakes on a monkey plane. Whenever Hapatra deals combat damage to a player, you may put -1/-1 counter on target creature. Then whenever one or more -1 counters are put on a creature, create a 1/1 green snake creature token with Death Touch. All right, and we see Hapatra hit the battlefield. Wonderful. Drawn to Ashnod's Altar. Let's go ahead and we need to get down something for 2 at this point. Let's go ahead and go for Plains. Now, when we do sacrifice Terran, we'll be able to get a, draw an additional card. Do we want to go add that 2 mana to our mana pool to get down? Now, let's go ahead and go for Mind Stone. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's go ahead and go for Mind Stone. Yeah, because that puts us in a spot to where if we only have to make the land drop for Secluded next turn, it's going to enter the battlefield tapped, we can actually end up tapping out for Lightning Greaves, and we'll be able to put some instant speed protection onto Teshar and kind of protect our opponent from going for some of that spot removal. You know, with Teshar sitting at a 2/2, Hapatra is going to be running a lot of -1/-1 kill spells that are going to give them some good snakes and be really easy for them to take care of Teshar. Now, we did cover both commanders, just free time. We can talk about whatever we want. That's going to be Teshar. Hope you're excited. This is a really fun deck to play. There's going to be some, to be honest, if I have the combo in my hand and I don't see it, give me a moment, okay? Because this is one of those decks I've put a lot of. I've probably played about 10 or 15 games with it. I love the deck. But there's just a lot of times to where like I'm a little slow to actually see the loop coming out of the graveyard. I've never really played a mono white egg based deck like this where we have a lot of sacrificing with Ashnod's Altar, bringing stuff out of the graveyard. So I may be a little slow to see some of these loops like that. So if I do see it, please very politely let me know. That way in the future I can see it a little bit quicker and then kind of go from there. That's one of the fun things about recording stuff for a YouTube channel is that when I play these decks, you get to see me play and then you can see like, oh man, you missed that one. That way I can kind of become a better player or a better pilot of the deck, let me say that. Okay, we do draw the Metalworkers. Actually, it's okay at this point. We do have 2 artifacts that we want to get down. Let's do this. Is there a certain way we want to sequence this one? Let's go and get the land drop down for the turn for sure. That's going to come into play tapped. And we're looking at 3 mana to work. Let's go and go for Metalworker. Yeah, I think I like going for that. We'll get down Metalworker. That way, if they do have some sort of spot removal, they may end up using it on Metalworker. They'll end up with a few snake tokens, and also kind of puts us in a spot where we kind of end up going for Wrath of God after they go for that some spot removal. Anything else, we're going to go pass turn to our opponent. Okay, and our opponent's going to go for a Splendid Agony, giving the Metalworker Splendid Agony. Man, I love... Speaking of Splendid Agony, I absolutely love the artwork on this card. It looks so good to me. Like, I don't know, it just looks really classic on this one. So it's kind of one of those, like, Metalwork is pretty good in the deck most of the time. Especially late game if you end up with a ton of artifacts in your hand when you're looping a bunch of stuff, or maybe you bring it back to your hand and you really get some good stuff done off of that. But yeah, I really enjoy the art. It's kind of one of those cards I always wanted to highlight with the art because it looks so, just looks classic, you know. I don't know. Whatever those little why Metalworkers like singling out that other little brick. Because you can tell it looks like they're sitting at a desk because there's a book behind it. But it's always intrigued me as to why Metalworker is highlighting that one person right there. Anyway, I guess we'll never know. All right, so opponent's going to be swinging in with Hapatra. They will be able to put a -1 counter on that snake token to get a fresh snake token untapped, and we'll kind of see what we want to go for next turn. We are looking at least 4 total mana. It would be nice to get down Lightning Greaves and have that up for Teshar, and if the opponent leaving their mana up, we'll probably end up waiting on that one. Yeah, let's do some setting up. Let's go and go for Lightning Greaves. We're going to tap out on Mind Stone. Let's do that. Let's go for Lightning Greaves, and let's go for Selfless Spirit. That's going to be 1, 2. We can go and shift the Lightning Greaves over onto Selfless Spirit. That way we can kind of stop some of those -1 counters. And if they do have some sort of spot removal in response to that, we can sacrifice it to kind of send it into the graveyard to where they don't get those extra tokens going. So it also puts it in a spot to where next turn, if we do end up tapping out for Teshar, it's like we kind of have double protection for Teshar if they have some sort of removal spell. All right, opponent's going to go for Devour Flesh. It'd actually be better for us to go and let that resolve because we'll just gain a life. So we're okay with that one. We'll go and sacrifice Selfless Spirit, and then no equip for us off the Lightning Greaves, and then we're going to go and pass turn our opponent. So hopefully, with our opponent only sitting at 3 lands at this point right now, hopefully they're a little bit tight on mana. So if we end up going for this Wrath of God, that'll really allow us to hopefully kind of, you know, a lot of these -1 counter spells for Hapatra, they're really good once you have Hapatra on the battlefield. They do cost about in the neighborhood of 3 mana, 4 mana, something like that. So, Bajuka Bog. I'm so glad our opponent got that down now instead of late game. Unfortunately, we will miss out on Selfless Spirit, but that's kind of Selfless Spirit is, in a Teshar deck, there's a lot of combos you can go for, bringing stuff out of the graveyard, kind of going for that repeated effect. But you also want to run some good utility stuff in there like Selfless Spirit because it's going to protect you against board wipes. But yeah, unfortunately got exiled, so... But that is not the end of the world. It's not one of our main combo pieces, so we'll be able to survive off of that. Let's see if our opponent's going to swing in. We do have a Hapatra and 2 snake tokens coming across. Okay, and our opponent's going to be tapping out for Catacomb Sifter. Now, this particular line of play kind of puts us in a weird spot because we want to go for Wrath of God. Our opponent's finally kind of extended into a really nice board state, and we want to tap out for Teshar, and that way we can get it down and have it be protected. But I think at this point right now, I really do like going for Wrath of God. The only downside is, if we do end up going for Wrath of God, there's going to be another scry off of that. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be 6 scry off of that. I do want to trade that for a board state at this point right now. Let's go to get on Darksteel Citadel. So we end up getting down to Teshar. We don't really have a whole lot of action going on at this point right now. They're going to start swinging across. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going to put us down to 13. Yeah, it's almost like we do need to end up going for Wrath of God. Yeah, I think we're okay with this one. That's going to be 1, 2. I'd like to do it to where our opponent's tapped out, but unfortunately we're going to have to do it on this one. So it's going to go for Wrath of God. They will get 6 scry off of that, or at least 4 scry. And we're going to always yield to that and let them do their thing. Okay, so we take care of our opponent's board state. At this point right now, we need to kind of start hitting a few more land drops. One thing that really does help this deck kind of start to go off is the fact that we can get down something like Skull Clamp and start clamping onto some of these little creatures. Our opponent's going to go for Manglehorn, destroying Lightning Greaves. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that. We still have Ashnod's Altar in the hand, so that's something we can get down and then kind of start going from there. But yeah, Skull Clamp is really good in this deck because a lot of the creatures that you do want to recur out of the graveyard, they typically have pretty low power and toughness, so you can get it on some of those creatures and kind of start going from there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's go and go for Teshar. Yeah, I think I like that. There's nothing really else that we can do for the turn. If they've got some spot removal, we'll at least kind of force them to use it. Or if they want to tap out for Hapatra, they're only stuck at 4 lands at this point right now. So that'll kind of put them in a spot where they can either A, go for some spot removal, or if they do have spot removal that kind of consists of some -1 counters style action, it's going to make them to almost kind of want to put down Hapatra first to kind of start going from there. But yeah, I'm kind of glad we didn't end up going for that Wrath of God because that... That's a pretty good, nice little board state our opponent had going. Now, as far as next turn goes, we're going to have there's not really much that we can bring back out of the graveyard. So it's almost like we do need to go ahead and get down Ashnod's Altar and start sacrificing some of these creatures. Now, one of the fun things that you can do with this deck and a sack idol is to go and take the Relic Warder, for example. It's going to enter the battlefield, you exile target artifact or enchantment. So it's going to be a delayed trigger or a separate trigger, not necessarily a delayed trigger, but a separate trigger. And then whenever it leaves the battlefield, we're going to be able to return that card to their owner's control. So what you can do with the sack outlet is have Relic Warder enter the battlefield, exile target artifact or enchantment. In response to that trigger on the stack, you use Ashnod's Altar's activation, and then it's going to get that secondary trigger to trigger. But since you didn't exile anything with Relic Warder, you're going to be able to get a permanent exile off of that and put it back into your graveyard, which is exactly what you want to do with Teshar. So that's an interesting interaction to go with. Same thing with Fiend Hunter too. It kind of has those 2 separate triggers, so you can get up with a permanent exile. Okay, opponent's going to go for a Lethal Sting on Teshar. Yeah, that's fine. Anything we can do? Nothing we can do on that one. All right, it's going to send Teshar back to the command zone. That does put it at 6 total mana to get Teshar down. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we do end up hitting another land, we can just go and tap out for Teshar again. Our opponent's only sitting at 2 cards in the hand, so I think we'll be able to survive this one. Hope of Girapur. Okay. Do we want to go for Terrarian? Do we want to go for Tyrann? We can't get down to... Yeah, let's go and go for that. It's going to be 2. We can add that 2 mana to our mana pool. Let's go and add double white. We'll draw an additional card. See what we draw into. Draw into Disenchant, which we cannot use at this point right now. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 still. I guess at this point right now, let's go and go for Ashnod's Altar, but that way we can go and get that down, and then we'll go and tap out for Plains. We'll still go and leave up Mind Stone. We're probably not going to crack on Mind Stone because we do need to hit that land drop, or at least leave it up for some additional mana, and then anything else we're going to go pass turn to our opponent. Now, we do need to keep in mind that our artifacts will enter the battlefield tapped thanks to Manglehorn. I don't think that it's going to matter in our particular case, but because typically we're not trying to swing in with combat damage or something like that. But any sort of mana rocks that we would be able to get down, something like Mind Stone, they will enter the battlefield tap. So it's something to definitely keep in mind. But we're at that point in the game to where it's turn 8. We're both sitting at 4 lands, unfortunately, and the Magic Guards aren't being too nice to us as far as mana goes. So hopefully one of us will start to get some of that mana flowing, at least us, hopefully, because our opponent get down Hapatra. They can build an army quicker than we can. Opponent's going to get down Torment of Scarabs. They lose 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Now, that discard abilities actually may kind of work out for us. Let's go and chunk... we do have Ashnod's Altar at this point. Let's go and lose 3 life on this one, because that can actually show you what we can do with the Relic Warder on this one. Draw into Plains. Okay. Well, actually, we do have Disenchant if we just want to simply just take care of it. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's go and go for Teshar. That way we can start sequencing some of this stuff. We can take another hit from Manglehorn. It's only sitting at a 1 at this point right now. We have Disenchant for Torment of Scarabs. And then we also have Relic Warder to kind of go for that permanent exile. And then we can kind of start working some of this stuff together. Anything else, we're going to go pass turn to our opponent. Now, we do have a lot of combos to kind of, not a lot of combos, we have a lot of just overwhelming value of bringing stuff out of the graveyard to kind of help us close the game out. We can use stuff like Aetherflux Reservoir or kind of Looping Perilous Mirror to deal that 2 damage to our opponent. If we can't get that going, there's plenty of times to where it's just, you have just a whole... I mean, you're just going combat with Relic Warder and Workshop Assistant. If you get enough creatures going onto the battlefield, bringing them out and stuff like that, you can end up with kind of like this hodgepodge of creatures. It doesn't look pretty. It's not pretty at all, but it'll get the damage done. You know, it's just kind of like playing a mono white deck. You should get enough creatures on the battlefield. It's hard for them to deal with anything. So that is a kind of like a plan D for the deck, is just to go beat sticks with a bunch of 2/2s and 1/1s, and a real scrappy crew of creatures out there. Okay, opponent's going to go for Spider. Enters the battlefield, when it deals combat damage to a creature, put a -1 counter, and then whenever you put 1 or more -1 counters on a creature, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so that's going to be their turn. I'm going to be happy with that one. We'll see what the other 2 cards are. They didn't end up going for some spot removal on Teshar, so we'll see if they go in response to that one. Anything that we want to chunk, we can get Hope of Gearport into the graveyard, and if we cast Workshop Assistant, it's going to be able to come back too. So yeah, we'll go and discard Hope of Gearport. That'll work out. Aviary Mechanic. Let's do this. Let's go and go for the Relic Warder. We're going to be able to cast that creature. It's going to be double white. It's going to enter the battlefield. We're going to have that targeted ability on Torment of Scarabs. That way it's still going to keep up Disenchant in our hand, and we can actually sacrifice Warder, and then we can still leave up Disenchant off that one. So we're going to go and target Torment of Scarabs with that. In response to that trigger, let's go and sacrifice a Relic Warder. It's going to try to return that card to our opponent, but since there's no card to return, there's nothing that we can do, and we'll end up with a permanent exile, and it's staying into the graveyard. All right, there we go. Yes, we're going to use that ability, and then exile that one. That still gives us 2 mana to work with. Do we want to bring anything back out of the graveyard? It's going to go for Workshop's Assistant, using that last mana, and tap out for Darksteel Citadel. Let's go and bring back Hope of Gearport to the battlefield, and we can actually go and sacrifice Workshop Assistant to return another target artifact to our hand. That way we can get Lightning Greaves onto Teshar, and we'll kind of go for that spot removal test. I feel like they would have gone for spot removal already if they had it. So let's go ahead and sacrifice the Workshop Assistant, add that 2 mana to our mana pool. Let's go and bring back Lightning Greaves. There we go, and we're going to put that onto Teshar, and then unfortunately the Spider does have haste off of that one. Let's go and bring back a Workshop Assistant onto the battlefield. Let's go and get down Lightning Greaves. Let's go and equip it onto Teshar. Teshar's going to put him on sideways, and then let's go and sacrifice Workshop Assistant. We'll go and bring back Terran out of the graveyard. Let's go and cast Terran. I'm going to bring back Workshop Assistant. Now this is, you can see, if we had Aether Flux Reservoir, we'd be able to get a lot of stuff done. And then let's go ahead and sacrifice anything we want to go for on this. We can bring back the Mechanic, tap out for one more white. We'll bring that back onto the battlefield. That's going to bring Terran back to the hand. Yes, we're going to use that ability. Let's bring Terran back, and then we'll simply just go and hold on to it. That way we can bring something back for next turn. All right, anything else that we need to go for? No, we're going to go and pass turn to our opponent. Okay, so at this point right now, we've got some pretty good stuff going. We do have Workshop Assistant. That's going to be a good graveyard recursion. Once we sacrifice it to something like Ashnod's Altar, we can add that double mana to our mana pool and return target artifact. The only thing is, at this point right now, we just don't have anything that's super explosive. So what we can do is we can get down Terrarian, enters the battlefield. Whenever it's put into the graveyard, we don't actually have to go for that activation. We can go for Ashnod's Altar, add that 2 mana, and we get some good card draw going. Hopefully that allows us to kind of draw into something that's going to be an answer for us at this point right now. Now, our opponent is sitting at 2 cards in the hand. They do have Hapatra sitting in the command zone, and we do have Teshar being protected at this point right now. So we're actually in a pretty good spot. Opponent's going to go for Tenacious Hunter. As long as the creature has a -1 counter on it, it has Vigilance and Death Touch. All right, and that will count towards Manglehorn. But a 4/4 is not too bad. With us having an entire board of creatures that we can recur out of the graveyard, it kind of puts us into this point to where, even though we're not going to be able to close the game out right now, when you simply have a bunch of creatures that can chump block and kind of stop your opponents from swinging across, it makes it really easy for you to just kind of keep dirtling like this. All right, let's see, is there anything else we need to go for with Disenchant? Nothing for our opponent or anything like that, because that's just a straight up Spider and Crocodile. Okay, see what we draw into. Draw into Void. Let's go and get that down. Let's get the Scry going. That way we can hopefully kind of sequence Terran just a little bit better. Restoration Specialist. Let's see if we can't dig a little bit deeper for, since we do have great Workshop Assistance, let's go and put that on the bottom for right now. Let's go and tap out for Terran. Let's go and bring back Relic Warden. You may exile target artifact or enchantment. We'll just go and choose Hope of Girapur at this point right now, and then not exile it. No, we're not going to use that ability. Get down Terran. Let's go and sacrifice Terran to get some... Oh, excuse me, we have to sacrifice a creature to get that going. Let's go and sacrifice Relic Warder. We're going to add that 2 mana to our mana pool. Oh, and excuse me, we have to go for the Terran activated ability of draw a card. Okay, I got that mixed up. I thought we could activate it, but it has to be a tap ability. Let's go ahead and go for Mind Stone. Let's go ahead and crack and draw a card off Mind Stone. We're at the point now to where we've got enough stuff to where we just need to grab that last explosive card. Draw into Thraben Inspector. Okay, let's go and get down Thraben. We're going to get that clue token going. And let's go ahead and sacrifice Workshop Assistant. We're going to be able to bring Mind Stone back to our battlefield. And let's go ahead and sacrifice Thraben Inspector. Let's go and cast Mind Stone. And what I may end up doing is kind of looping this turn just a little bit, and I'll kind of explain what we did at the end. Okay, drawn to Altar of Dementia. Okay, let's go and cast Altar of Dementia. That's going to be 1/2. And that's really going to allow us to start getting some stuff going. So bring back Thraben Inspector. We're going to get that clue token going. And then what we can do with Altar of Dementia, we can get some stuff moving later on. So we only have 2 artifacts. So at this point right now, let's just go ahead and pass the turn, and then we'll kind of see what we've got going on as far as that clue token. We can crack the clue token, and we can go for a few Altar of Dementia triggers once our opponent starts to swing in. Even though you're not looking at a huge board state from our opponent, but with them being able to swing in for simply like 5, putting us down to about 8 or something like that, that might not be that good for us. So we're going to go and leave this up. That way we can declare some blockers, go for some Altar of Dementia triggers, and then hopefully start getting some good stuff going. Now, especially with Workshop Assistant, we can return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So we can simply just kind of use that to sacrifice Hope of Girapur, and that's going to allow us to kind of start casting some stuff to bring some stuff back out of the graveyard so we can get some good combo stuff going next turn. All right, opponent's going to go for Destined. Target creature gets +1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Anything that we need to do in response? No, that's fine. Go for it. Now, the good thing about Tenacious Hunters does not have Trample or anything like that. Simply just Vigilance and Indestructible, so we're going to be okay on that one. All creatures able to block target creature do so. Okay, so is there any way that we can get around this one? Indestructible, Death Touch. Unfortunately, that will put us to where we have to swing in with Teshar. And that will make it to where we have to recast Teshar. Thankfully, with the Workshop Assistant being tapped out, we do have a lot of artifacts that we can go for. I'm almost tempted to just simply just go ahead and we'll declare the blockers, and we'll go for Altar of Dementia, putting all these cards, getting that milling going. That way we don't take any damage off that, and we can kind of re-rack after that one. Let's go ahead and put Teshar blocking, Hope of Gearpour, Mechanic, and then Thraben Inspector. And let's go and go for that Altar of Dementia trigger. We're going to choose us. Okay, so we sacrificed all of our creatures. Let's go and go for the Clue Token Crack off this one's going to be 1/2. We're drawn to another planes. Okay, and then anything else, we're going to go pass the turn. So our opponent's not going to be able to swing in since we did sacrifice all of our creatures and it does not have trample. That's going to prevent it from coming across. Ooh, drawn to Teferi's Protection. Let's go and get planes down. Let's get Teshar pop back up. Let's go and get Teshar down. That will be 8 total mana, so it's going to be a pretty good chunk of mana on that one. 1/2. And actually, if we want to get the reduced cost, if we want to leave up at least one plane, let's do it like this. Let's go ahead and sacrifice Workshop Assistant. That way we can return just one. We'll bring Midnight back to the hand. That way we can get some good Teshar triggers going off of that one. Okay, let's go and tap out for Teshar. It's going to be 1/2. Let's go and shift the Lightning Greaves over onto Teshar. And let's go and cast Midnight. That way we can bring a creature card out of the graveyard. Let's go for Workshop Assistant. Let's go and sacrifice Workshop Assistant. Okay, unfortunately, our opponent's going to scoop it up on this one. Oh, let me pull the game back up. Okay, sorry for that weird edit, and also sorry for kind of posting an incomplete game. Our opponent ended up scooping up about 20 minutes into the game, and unfortunately, when you're playing Teshar, you're going to end up with some of these games where you're basically going to be able to kind of keep recurring your board state. Our opponent has not a lot of action going on, and at this point right now, we're in a better position to kind of go ahead and close the game out. We do have Altar of Dementia on the battlefield, so what we're going to be able to do is start sacrificing our creatures, getting that milling going, and then once we kind of start casting these creatures, it's going to allow us to really kind of start dredging into our library and finding another win condition for the deck. You know, whether it's Aetherflux Reservoir, we find a Mirror Retriever, Imperialist Mirror. Basically, we're at the point to where this deck is also really good at the late game. You know, our opponent's deck can get some good soldier tokens going, but whenever you can kind of keep recurring your board state, it's really hard to deal with, and our opponent ended up posting scooping up on this one. I hate that it did happen this way, but technically it's going to be a Teshar and win, and it's going to be win in Teshar's book because we can kind of keep bringing stuff out of the graveyard and start generating a lot of value between Altar of Dementia and Ashnod's Altar. So anyway, sorry about the incomplete game once again, but if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.